Hi everybody, welcome back to Junie B. Jones' Toothless Wonder. We're going to read chapter 6 today, called Full of Soup. In our last chapter, Junie B. enlightened her mother about the tooth fairy not being real and that she's really a tooth witch. What do you think of that? I don't know. Did you talk to your mom and dad about that? I never heard of a tooth witch, but I heard of a tooth fairy. I don't know. Let's find out what happens in chapter 6, called Full of Soup. That night, Daddy tucked me into bed. He said that Polly Allen Puffer's brother is full of soup. There's no such thing as a tooth witch, Junie B, he said. I promise you there isn't. Polly Allen Puffer's brother just made that up to scare Polly Allen. And then Polly Allen said it to scare you too. I shook my head. No, Daddy, no, it's not made up, and I know it isn't, because the tooth witch makes sense, that's why, I said. She makes way more sense than a fairy. Daddy raised his eyebrows. Why, he asked, why does a witch make more sense than a fairy? Because, I said, because the tooth witch likes to chomp the teeth, but the tooth fairy doesn't do anything with the teeth at all, right? And so why would she even pay money for them? Daddy did a little frown. Well, I don't know exactly, he said, but I'm sure that she must do something with the teeth, Junie B. There are other things to do with teeth besides just chomping them, you know. Like what? I asked. Daddy put his head in his hands, and then he thought and thought and thought. And after he got done thinking, he went to get Mother. I don't know if he knew what to say. She came into my room carrying Fussy Ollie. She handed him to Daddy and sat down on my bed. Daddy said, you have another problem about the tooth fairy, she said. I nodded. Yes, I said, because if there's really a fairy, then she has to have a reason to want the teeth, right, Mother? She wouldn't just throw them in the garbage, because that wouldn't make any sense. Plus, also, it would hurt my feelings. Mother hugged me. No, Junie B, of course she doesn't throw them in the garbage, she said. I'm sure the tooth fairy does something very special with the teeth. Like what? I asked. Mother ran her tired fingers through her hair. Poor Mother. I'll bet Junie B wears her out. You know, I wore my mother out sometimes. She stood up and walked back and forth on my rug. Then all of a sudden her face got brighter. I know, I bet the fairy uses the teeth to make jewelry, she said. At first, Daddy and I didn't say any words. We just stared and stared at that woman. Jewelry, I said finally. Mother smiled. Yes, of course, she said. She probably uses the teeth to make little tooth necklaces and bracelets and cute little toe rings. How does that sound? I made a sick face. It sounds repulsive, said Daddy. Mother stopped smiling. She quick took Ollie back from Daddy and she hurried out of my room. After she left, Daddy finished tucking me in bed. I'm sorry about that, Junie B, he said. I'm afraid Ollie has your mother worn to a frazzle these days. But I'm sure she's not right about that jewelry thing. He did a little shiver. No, certainly she's not, he said. Then, before I could ask any more questions about the fairy, he kissed me goodnight, and he rushed out of my room as fast as Mother. That night, I did not put my tooth under my pillow. Also, I did not put it under there the night after that or the night after that. But what do you know? The fairy still did not make sense. In our next Junie B story time, we're going to read chapter 7, called A Stumper. To be stumped means you don't know the answer to something. I have a problem with my TV and I'm stumped. I don't know what the problem is, why it won't work. So Papa's going to help me with that stumper later today. So wait until our next story time and we'll read that chapter together. Until I see you again, have a great day.